Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swagglehos. And in this video, I got myself an unboxing to do with you guys here today. 4 books that I picked up for $450. It is a 4 for 4 deal on the YouTube channel. The first books that I actually got here in 2023. Although technically speaking, I did make these purchases in 2022. It's just that I got the package this year. So in this video, I'm going to open up the books. I'm going to talk about why I picked them up. And then I want to talk about this one character that the haul is sort of based around. Is this character kind of the future of the MCU? Is this character the #1 specced on character for the Marvel Cinematic Universe? And in this video, I kind of want to go through the numbers, take a look at this character, and talk to you guys about this guy and see if this is really as safe a buy as we all think that it is. But before I get into the books, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, helps support the channel, doing those things, I'd appreciate it. But let us get into this video here today. Now, we gotta, of course, undo this box on the YouTube channel. Always undoing boxes here. Now, this is a book that I actually picked up from friend of the channel, Marvel Decoded. Goes by Marvel Decoded on Instagram. A great comic book seller. He was the person that I got my upgraded Avengers 1 for. Definitely recommend go checking him out. Although, you know, I'm a little bit selfish. I kind of like don't want people to go into his Instagram live sales because that just creates more competition for me. But he's always got amazing inventory, amazing books, and he's definitely a stand-up seller. So highly recommend you guys go check him out. And he had a claim sale kind of at the end of the year, probably like a little bit of a clearance sale almost. This was like right around Christmas time, and he happened to have a set of these raw books right here. I mean, hold on, guys. This is obviously very nicely packaged. I appreciate Jordy taking the time to do that. He had a set of these particular books right here. And, you know, I was interested in a few of them. A few of these characters I've always really been kind of fond of. You know, me, I like my B-tier villains, so I had to pick up some of the rogue gallery of these characters. And, you know, I kind of wanted to see if he would do a package deal. I made a few offers on a couple of the different books, and I was able to score 4 of them here for you guys today. So let's kind of go through these one by one. Yes, very, very nice. Okay, so these are 4 books from the same Silver Age run of a character that I'm very, very interested in overall. But the first book we got to talk about is the earliest of the batch. And this one is from the Daredevil run right here. But this is Daredevil #3, the 3rd appearance of Daredevil, and the first appearance of the character known as the Owl right there. Now, the Owl, if you guys happen to know, was a villain of the Daredevil Netflix show. He didn't get sort of the pomp and circumstance that you would normally get with a Marvel villain, but he was, in fact, in the show. One that I could see them bringing back into the MCU when we get the Born Again series, simply due to the fact that I think that he's just an easy executable villain for Marvel, right? Like, you don't need to go crazy with his special effects. He doesn't need to look like Thanos or She-Hulk or whatever. So you can just get an actor, do their hair up with some owl wingtips, and, you know, basically you have a supervillain for your show. So I really think that this character is very, very interesting. And I think that the general rogue gallery of Daredevil villains are kind of interesting, sort of speckish characters, although kind of in this current market, we don't really know what the spec market looks like. And that's really going to be the point of what I'm talking about when I talk about the character of Daredevil. If every book is correcting, if every book is coming down, obviously I just put out my Silver Age Index video, you know, it's really hard to say this is going to be the book that is worth specking on and this is going to be the one that goes up in the market when the entire market itself is having that pullback. But, you know, based on where you can find certain prices of certain books, that's really how you're going to sort of make your money or make your equity. And that is one of the reasons why I picked up this series, because effectively I'm getting $100 per book, which even for Daredevil 3 right here, which, you know, I think this kind of grades out to be, you know, he had it at a 3.0. I think it looks pretty nice. I think he generally is pretty conservative on his grades right there. But this is a very nice copy. And to get it for, you know, a wholesale cost of $100, I felt like that was definitely a good pickup in my opinion. All right, going through the next book in the series right here, we have to talk about probably my favorite of the books that I got. But this one right here is Daredevil #4, first appearance of the Purple Man. Now, if you guys happen to see the Jessica Jones series, actually season 1 of Jessica Jones was one of the best, probably superhero television show series there were in all of superhero television shows. I mean, season 1 was absolutely amazing. And one of the reasons why it was amazing was because of David Tennant's portrayal of the Purple Man. Now, if you guys know David Tennant, he was formerly, one of the doctors in Doctor Who, which I absolutely love Doctor Who as a series. And I think that the Purple Man is another interesting character that, they could maybe bring David Tennant back into the MCU. In fact, he's even made mention of the fact that, like, someone asked him in an interview, would you be ever interested in coming back as the Purple Man? And he said, something to the effect of, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'd be very, very curious to see what some kind of, talented writer could bring to the table. So very cool to think about that. Could David Tennant ever make a comeback? Again, I like him as a villain that Marvel would want to bring back because of the ease of execution. If they can just get David Tennant to return as the Purple Man, and they don't even have to put him in purple makeup, they could just have him in a purple suit, like, that's going to be good enough for them to be the villain of a show or a Disney Plus show. So I really, really like this book. Another one that I got from this batch, another one that was graded to be a 3.0, has a little bit of a sub crease, as you can see right there, but a very, very cool book. I actually really love these covers, the Daredevil ones. A lot of them are done by, Wally Wood here, and he did a phenomenal job. A little bit of a history. Wally Wood was apparently notoriously very difficult to work with, and I think Stan Lee did not like dealing with him. And that's really one of the reasons why he had such a short Marvel run. It was just him and Stan Lee headbutting all the time. But these Daredevil covers are very, very cool, especially the Wally Wood ones. All right, this next book here is actually a book that I picked up not too long ago. I got another one, or another copy of this a few months back. But, going here in the Daredevil series, I got a Daredevil number 6, first appearance of Mr. Fear. Now, this one happened to be a very low-grade version of it. He had this one at a 1.8, but, everything is attached, everything is complete, everything holds together. It's just got kind of, a kind of a slash right here, maybe some black ink right there on the title, and then a little bit of gunk down here. But a very cool book all the same. Mr. Fear is another sort of random villain character that I think has a lot of potential, simply due to the fact that he's got a cool kind of costume design, which I think could be really interesting if they decide to execute it. And thematically, the fear element, I talked about this in the last time I picked up this book, the fear element I think works very well for Daredevil. If I was somebody who was writing on that show, I definitely would want to lean into that thematically, just kind of explore what does it mean to be the man without fear, and how do we sort of reflect that as sort of an origin and introduction into, Charlie Cox's Daredevil in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Like, how do we have a villain that kind of reflects the hero's own ideology, and then they kind of go on this sort of emotional journey, where we get some sort of payoff at the very, very end that, usually, in superhero films, when you get kind of these arcs, those feel very, very satisfying from a thematic sense. If you can pay off some kind of thing that really kind of doubles down on who they are as a character and what they stand for as both a superhero and a human. All right, and the last book I got from my haul right here is probably the second most desired, I'd say, outside of Daredevil number 1 and number 2, it's the third most desired book in the early Daredevil books. But this one right here is Daredevil number 7, first appearance of the red costume. Another awesome Wally Wood cover. This one presents actually really nicely. He had this at like a 2.5, but I can see why, a couple chips right there. But generally speaking, I mean, the colors on this are really, really beautiful. And I'm definitely happy to add this one to the PC. This is kind of a similar one to the Tales of Suspense book, where Iron Man gets his first gold and red costume as well. Definitely an important key within that Iron Man mythos. And I think that this is a very important key within the Daredevil mythos. And I'm curious to see where this book goes when we eventually get to, the Born Again series. Obviously, when we got Daredevil and She-Hulk, he started with the sort of the yellow suit design, which I thought was kind of fun for people. And then when we get Born Again, he's clearly going to make or make his debut in the red suit. And it'll be interesting to see if this book gets a pop due to that kind of debut. Now, before I wrap up the video, I did kind of want to talk a little bit about Daredevil as a spec character, because of the sort of characters that everyone has spec'd on in the 2021 comic book boom, Daredevil was one of the ones that got some of the biggest leaps in prices for, of course, Daredevil number 1, which, as you guys know, is Daredevil's first appearance. And it's not that I would say I would be concerned as a holder of this book, but I am curious to see if the prices for this thing can maintain the floors that so far they've been maintaining. Because as I kind of dug into my Silver Age index and some of the experience I've had with that, and even looking at some of the big Grail books like X-Men #1 and Tales of Suspense 39 and things like that, we've seen corrections on every single book. Like I made one of those videos where I said no book is immune, and the point of that was that anything that got heavily specced on or inflated during the COVID times was going to see a correction. And while Daredevil #1 has certainly seen a correction, it hasn't had quite the same pullback, at least into the trend line that you would think that it would have for the Silver Age book. On top of all that, the census for this book being at 4,762 universal grades makes this one of the higher census books for a kind of a blue chip Marvel Silver Age book out there in the market. And so let's take a look at some of these numbers here together, and we can kind of start at the 6.0 because this is a book that has a decent amount of sales, especially in the last 30 days. And let's just take a look at the chart right there. One of the things that I wanted to point out is look how much this book has shot off, and certainly it's had its correction, but currently where it sits, this is still well above the trend line for where we think this book should be. I mean, remember, this book in 2019 and 2020 was around a $3,000 book, let's just call it. Now, kind of where it sits is still double the value at $6,000. And if I was somebody who had a 6.0 or was interested in buying a 6.0, this is a situation where if I was trying to buy it, I would definitely still be waiting because I'm not sure that this floor price is the floor price that it should be holding at. Now, let's kind of take a look at some of the other values here. The 5.0 30-day moving is at 4,000. And this is another one where the chart looks a little similar. Now, it's getting a little bit closer back to that trend line overall, but it is still, kind of what I would say overly inflated. Similarly, here at the 4.0, we're seeing it, still kind of being a little overinflated for what the chart should look like. And then even down here at the 2.0 grade, we still see this chart trending relatively high relative to where this book was selling for in 2020. And I think that is, like I said, interesting, concerning. I don't really know what to make of it other than the fact that certainly it seems like Daredevil is a very, very popular character and people are very, very excited about him. But the question I kind of have is, are people holding on to their books thinking that they're still going to make that flip when we get to the Born Again series? Will it ironically be the case that when we get to the Born Again series, that'll be a better time to buy the Daredevil book? I would say that right now, if you're somebody out there who's looking for it, I might still wait a little bit, based on how I would sort of evaluate books and Silver Age and how the index has been moving. To me, if I can find these books that are like this being sold for $100, my cost basis into all of these books is pretty low overall. I'm relatively, convinced that, generally speaking, I'm always going to be able to have my money on that. So that's kind of why I say, it's not necessarily that now isn't the time to buy. I mean, if you can find good deals, you can find good deals. That's what I say. A lot of people in the comments are always like, oh, you got to wait 6 months. You got to wait 6 months. It's like, yeah, that's generally true. But if you find a good deal then go ahead and buy it. You're not going to lose out too much. But if you're thinking you're going to make that big purchase into a Daredevil #1 and you're kind of evaluating, the charts and stuff, yeah, that's where you might want to use a little bit of caution before you make that purchase. Unless you happen to see someone selling their Daredevil 1 at a price that is effectively around that 2020 price, then, at that point, what else do you have to lose? I mean, sure, we could test 2019 prices, but nobody can necessarily predict that. We don't really know. So if you find a good deal, and you have the money and you're ready to buy it and you want the book, then by all means buy it. But at this current market price, I'm not necessarily so sure. And so what do you guys think about Daredevil overall? Do you think that he could be that character that becomes kind of the iconic face of the MCU in some kind of way, kind of elevated in the way that, say, Doctor Strange and Iron Man were elevated from these last 10 years? Or do you think that this book is still a little bit overinflated? I don't really know. It's hard to say. But at the end of the day, I'm still happy to add these 4 books to my collection. Very cool Daredevil books, in my opinion. And that's all I have for this video. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content. I'll see you in the next one.